And today you're not going to see a ton of me because I'm just going to be sharing my screen. So
I caught that. I just
what's up?
I can collapse that.
Oh, down here. That guy, and then some music being recorded. Yes, perfect. All right. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So just a reminder, guys. I know when it's so repetitive, we stop looking at the details of it. But once a month, the event will be in person. That will be the team meeting. So the other times you'll notice, and again, maybe we'll change the color of it so it's more clear because I know it kind of all looks the same. But the other 3 trainings would be online only. And it's an attempt to, we're going to make it so it's more webinar style. And the goal is that we can send the webinar invites to people and they may be a little bit more inclined to log in if it's not a team meeting for Keller Williams. If it's just a webinar on the budget model, we might be able to get a few more people that are non-KW agents to pop in. So that's kind of the idea, a little bit more of a rebranding, if you will. But today, Tuesdays, yep. But for today, we've talked about the 4 models. Okay, we've touched on them, I should say. So the MREA book is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and the models are as follows. And we've already gone over a few of these. We've gone over the economic model, the lead gen model, and today we're going over the budget model. Now, really quickly, pop quiz. And if you're on Zoom land, you can unmute yourself. I think I can put this up. We'll see if that works. Okay. Well, we're going to have a weird echo. So who here can remind me of what the economic model is? And it does not need to be word for word. You don't need to say it exactly right. Just give me the gist. What is the economic model in the MREA book? Should get Jeopardy music to play. Yes. Correct, for $200. Yes, it is figuring out your math. Okay, and that's when you think of economic model, I want you to think of math. And they say it all the time at KW, the path is in the math. So if you want a path to $200,000, there's a math equation for that. If you want a path to your first $60,000 so it could replace your income, there's a math for that. There's a math equation. And as Zara mentioned, the most, if not one of the most important variables to know is appointments. How many appointments? So then it starts this big scary goal of $200,000 gets chopped down into a really manageable number of 15 appointments or something like that. Okay, and then the question is, okay, well, now how do I get those 15 appointments? And that's the beauty of coaching and real estate in general. Now, the next one is the lead gen model. It's a little bit kind of sort of in its name, but what is the gist of the lead gen model? Now that we know our math, we have the path is in the math. What is the lead gen model? How does that come into play? No, go for it.
wouldn't that just be like making sure you gen every single day? Like you're generating leads.
That's not wrong. That's not wrong at all. It is because it is around leads. It's around lead gen, right? I mean, that was in the name, but it's a little bit more specific. Yeah, there we go. So that's where we started talking about the database. We talked about, and I know we keep branching into more and more things, but the laws of the database: have one, feed it, communicate with it, and then respond to any leads that come in. I kind of feel like that last one's an obvious one, but we'll say it anyways. Somebody calls you, you answer, and you go meet with them. But okay. But yes, the lead gen model is the idea of, okay, I have my math. My math is I need to go on 15 appointments. Now the lead gen model comes in and says, okay, what do we need to do to produce enough leads to lead to that appointment? That's the idea behind the lead gen model. And now we are moving into the budget model. And I know budget is a super sexy concept, right? We love P&L statements and income statements and expenses and all that fun stuff, but it is incredibly necessary because we see a lot of people they're liars. Let me see. How do I see that? Oh, wait a minute. How do I see the oh, here we go. I don't see them. I have Alex, Chris, Claude, and Robert, and I don't see anybody that's waiting. Uh-oh. Now I disabled the waiting room, but I don't know what that means. Right? That would be ideal.
I disabled that on all my Zoom calls. And they usually do that because it's yes, people. Yeah. Because they're learning and they're like, yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe it'll give me a notification. I don't see a notification. Okay. So spoiler alert, the next model we're going to be discussing is the organizational model. Now, I will say that the MREA book is for everybody, but I will also say not every chapter and page and model is for everybody. For example, if you're a newer agent, you're probably not going to have to concern yourself with what the job of the seller's agent and the buyer's agent and your admin and your executive assistant, but you will need to understand how you can prepare for that someday. Budget model, same concept. The budget is much more simple when you're a solo agent. So today's actually going to be talking about more about solo agents more than anything. But here's the central question when it comes to the budget model that I want you to all ask yourself. And that question is, what is the purpose of business? And I'm going to steal from Gary Keller on this one, but what is our answer to this? What is the purpose of business? It's more of a, I'd say it's a guiding question. You could ask yourself this. Ooh, that's a good KW answer. Yeah, to live a life by design. And that is correct. We're missing one factor in that. Marianne's answer is to live a life by design. Couldn't agree more. What else are we missing in that? Check the participants. And the correct answer is the purpose of a business is to fund the perfect life. You want to live a life by design, and that's why Marianne was 100% correct on that. Now, the purpose of the business is to be able to fund that. And I love that answer because it is going to be different for everybody. If you're committed to donating a certain number of dollars to your local organization or your church, and you want to be able to go on 2 vacations every year, and you want to do this, then you need to figure out how your business can support that. So the purpose of business is to fund the perfect life. And that was taken from Gary Keller. I don't know if it's the MREA book or the One Thing book, but that is the goal. So the guiding question when we ask ourselves is, what is the purpose of my business? And if the answer is, it is to fund the perfect life, you'll start to view your budget a little differently. And I'll give you a great example. If your job is to fund the perfect life, and let's just pretend I want to fund my lifestyle of going on a 3-week camping trip every year with my kids. And I want to make sure I have the funds to do that. Okay. And I decide that I'm going to advertise on shopping carts. Okay. It could be. I'll tell you, when I'm in Glendora, I see the same name on every single shopping cart. But the question is this going to help me fund the life that I want? And you start to treat things a little differently. You're not as lax with your money, okay? If you're going to do shopping carts, you're gonna have to give yourself 6 months, 12 months before you decide, am I gonna keep this or not? Did it bring more money in than it was spent? Yes or no? If it didn't, well, then you are literally doing the opposite of what your business is supposed to be doing. You are taking away from the life that you want to live, okay? So the fuel to that funding is, so if the purpose is to fund the perfect life, okay, the fuel to that funding is what? Money, close. Specific though, what kind of money? Is it your gross income? Is it, there it is, profit, okay? If you are not in the business to generate a profit, and I hear people say this all the time, I don't do it for the money. Well, perfect, give me your commission then. I'll take it. If you're gonna do it for free, I don't wanna insult you, so I will gladly take your income. So the answer is that you do need a profit. If you are not running at a profit, you're running a charity. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's a very wholesome endeavor. But the purpose of your business is to turn a profit so that you can fund the perfect life that you want. So profit is really important. And for some reason, people think of it almost as a dirty word, right? If a business really wants to be profitable, that is not greedy, that is business. Your job is to be profitable. And just the same, if you decide to get in a partnership with, I don't know, somebody that's gonna help you grow your business, after 6 months, if it's not working, you have one of two choices. You can keep hurting your profits, or you can cut ties with that vendor or whoever it is so that you can get back to making a profit. So everything has to go through that lens when it comes to the budget model, okay? So now we're gonna get into just a few things as to why, did I skip? Okay. So why budgeting like a business matters. So first of all, you have to remember that you are the CEO of your business. The days of you clock in, you clock out, oh, the lights turned off, that's weird, maybe the owner didn't pay the lighting bill, but I'm out of here, I gotta go. No, everything's on you. As a solo agent, you are in charge of your budgeting, your finances, your lead gen, your marketing. Now we have tons of support for you, right? We have Robert supporting with the marketing. When it comes to getting your commission check and getting your funds, that's Karen, right? Karen helps you with those things. Business strategy, things like that, absolutely, I can help with that. But you are the CEO. Everything's gonna rise and fall on you, which is why budgeting is controlling your money instead of reacting to it. So there's a great saying that says, if you don't tell every single dollar where to go, at the end of the month, you're gonna wonder where all the dollars went. Okay, so a budget is not just reactive, although it will start that way. You're gonna start as a budget with, let me look at how much I spent last month, and you're gonna wince, and it's gonna be painful, and you're gonna look to see, wow, $70 on Starbucks. And you're gonna see, oh, wow, I spent this much money. She lowers the Starbucks cup. It's okay. Your budget is gonna be reactive at first, but then the purpose of a budget is to take that and look ahead, to give yourself a budget, okay? A lot of people, they start off by budgeting by always looking backwards. They look back and they're like, oh yeah, I spent another $70 on Starbucks. I'll try better this next month. And then the month goes by, $70 again. Okay, well, I'll work on that. And the next month, 65. Okay, great. But a budget is, I spent $70 last month. I need to cut that in half minimum, and I'm gonna hold myself to $35. That's how a budget is supposed to work, okay? A lot of people use that as a reflective tool. Lead with revenue, not expenses. Now, this is the trap for every new agent. I'm gonna make that really clear, because you don't have a lot of revenue yet. So there is going to be a point that you're leading with expenses, and I understand that. Your job is to keep those expenses to a minimum. I just talked somebody off the ledge maybe 2 weeks ago. They were going to buy leads already, and they were in the business for, I want to say, 2 weeks. Now, if you've been in the business for 10 years and 2 weeks, we can have that conversation because there's a good chance you have the revenue to support it. A beautiful place to be is where you have enough revenue to where you can actually choose something like, oh, you know what, I'm going to invest, I'm going to try this one. And then we commit to it for 6 months or 12 months, and then we decide if it was good or bad. As a new agent, if you're only leading with revenue, then your options are very limited. Okay? You need to buy some waters and juices for your open house, some cookies. Okay, that now we're talking. But going out and buying a $700 a month lead service, not a good option. Okay? Especially since we know that about 85% of the chances, 85% of the time, your first deal or two is going to come from somebody that's already in your phone. You already have them there. Okay? Building a business, not just a sales job, and it's not what you earn, it's what you keep. I think that's one of the biggest ones. I've heard horror stories. I've never seen one personally, but I've heard horror stories where some mega team leader, rainmaker for a 10 agent team comes in and they're like, my GCI was $3 million. Like, wow, that's amazing. Your gross commission income was $3 million. Cool. So how much of that did you keep? And you'll just see it just chopping down. Oh, well, we spent, this much and then this much and then this much. Before you know it, I've heard horror stories where there are people, this is not an exaggeration. They earned like 2 to 3 million in GCI with their team, and they ended up collecting as profit something like $100,000, which, by the way, that sounds amazing, but not off of $2 to $3 million in GCI. Happens a lot, happens all the time. And it's a natural inflation of expenses. You earn your first 100,000, so you decide to buy this, this, and this. And then the next year you do it again, great. Third year, your income drops, your expenses do not, and now you're in over your head, okay? So something that we're gonna do, we're gonna learn about red light, green light. Red light, green light. It's not a slide here, but I wanted to talk about it. Red light, green light is when you've already been keeping your budget, okay? And then you look ahead and you say, hey, Gabe, I'm going to try this program, and it's going to help me send out mailers, and it's going to cost $150 a month. I'm just using numbers. And I think it's going to work. We will say, okay, great. We're going to put a microscope over that. And I think it's actually the next, no. There you go. We're going to put a microscope over that, okay? And we're going to hold ourselves to, are we going to see an ROI on that $150 expense? Yes or no? Are we at least going to break even? Because for some people, it might say, well, it's building, so if it just breaks even, I'll be okay with that. But more oftentimes than not, when we look at someone's budget, there's a lot of red lights where nothing is returning what they're supposed to be, and you have to get rid of that as fast as you can. Call them up and try to opt out of your contract. Do any number of things, okay? I've heard it said once, and actually it does happen a lot, if something is on the cusp, like you're like, hey, this needs a couple more months or else I'm gonna have to cut this. Call up that vendor. This call is being recorded, that's okay. Call up that vendor and cancel. They will usually give you some type of a discount for the last couple of months or a month. That is an opportunity for you to say, okay, great. I was going to leave it anyways. Now they're going to give me a little bit of breathing room, and I have 2 months to justify this. Okay? So don't always just cut something off right away. Plan a little bit ahead. Say, hey, this hasn't given me a return for about 6 months. I'm going to give it 2 more months, so let me call and cancel right now. 9 times out of 10, they're going to give you a break. You have yourself a little bit of breathing room. And then if after 10 months or what have you, it still isn't giving you a return, cancel, get rid of it, okay? And on the flip side, green lights is if you've been doing something and it's working great. Perfect. Keep that green, hypothetically, keep it green. And then eventually, if it keeps giving you a return, what should we do with that budget line item? Invest more. Yeah, because it's going to start to turn really easy into saying, well, when I put $1 into this lead gen source, $5 comes out. So I'm going to keep putting some more money in that, and let's keep it under the microscope. Okay. And that's, by the way, that's how advertising works. Advertising, you run about 5 or 6 different ads and you take a look at the metrics. 2 or 3 of them are always going to be on the bottom. Get rid of that as quickly as you can. 2 or 3 of them will be doing well. Put a little bit more money into that. And then once one kind of comes out as the champion, you put even more money into that. That's how red light, green light works, okay? So let's talk into some really fun mathematics. So the budget model follows a very simple 30-30-40 structure. It's oversimplified, right? For some people, it's going to be a little bit high, a little below, but this is the ballpark of what we're aiming for. Does anybody know what should fall under these? I know 2 of them are the same. Which one? Which one? The blue square?
What?
What is it? Oh, you know what it is? It's like a pink, but it's not showing the same. It's a way different color on my laptop, but good to know. I'm going to adjust that. So the first and second are interchangeable. Those are your cost of sale. Let me see if I put them in the right order. Cost of sale and your operating expenses. So cost of sale is, and I want you to use the exact way it's phrased. It is the cost of doing the sale. So if you don't do a sale, you don't incur those costs. So that would be really simple. The 2 biggest, most simple ones are referral fees and broker splits. The most simple ones. I've always pushed back and said, well, what about photographers? Because, you only use them if you're going to do the sale. That would still be under operating expenses. So cost of sale is only the cost that incurs when you actually do the sale. Which is kind of tricky because then you start to realize how high your expenses are. Because you're going to want to shove a lot of stuff to cost of sale, and it does not belong there. Okay, so the next one, 30%, is operating expenses. That's literally anything else it takes to run your business. So let's rattle some off. Let's mastermind it here. What are some operating expenses that, by the way, we can't get rid of? Okay. MLS dues, that's one. Association fees, those are some big ones, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, super key.
Super key. I'm still convinced the association thinks they're doing a fast one on us. Like, you have an annual association fee, a quarterly MLS, and a monthly Supra. I think they're convinced we're tricked. Like, we don't see it, but what else? What other operating expenses? Signage, marketing. If you were to stage, sure. Yep. If you're paying for stage, yeah, I was like, if, yes, big if there. But no, that
videography.
Whoa, say it again.
I said videography.
Videography, absolutely. Yep. Yep, videographer, absolutely. Now let's get into some of the lead gen traps, because you guys are being so nice to yourself right now. Okay. What if you went out and bought Facebook ads? That would be an operating expense. That is not a cost of sale. What if you advertised on shopping carts? That is an operating expense. That is not a cost of sale. Let's see. What if you have a monthly parking pass? What if you're paying for a day desk? Or not a day, sorry. You're paying for a cubicle. That's an operating expense. So gas money, yes. So quickly you're going to realize that one of the biggest traps that agents fall into is The 30% cost of sale is rock solid because that's not in their control. That's the broker split, that's the referral fees. So naturally, that one tends to stay at 30, okay? We'll, in a more advanced class, we'll talk about how that could actually lower, but for now, 30%, 70-30 split, all that fun stuff. The 40% is what, by the way? Most important word. Profit. Yes, your take-home income. So what we see all the time is somebody has convinced themselves that they're operating at a 30% expense. Okay, the broker split is 30%. Okay, so that's set in stone. This agent is convinced that they're operating at 30% margins, and then we look at their profit line and there's nothing there. That's extreme. It's minimal. It's not 40%. Now, welcome to algebra class. If the cost of sale is 30%, okay, and this agent is showing just a 10% profit, what is actually their operating expense percentage? We take 30, 60%. We didn't put taxes in there. We didn't put taxes in there. So we see this all the time where an agent just got started. They don't even have a cost of sale because they haven't done any sales yet, but that's going to be there. And they're operating at a 65, 60, 70% expense. Okay. So that is like, it's like a triage moment where we say, okay, stop everything. We need to stop the bleeding first. So we go to most people do not keep a P&L or expense sheet. So we'll just go to their bank statements and we'll say, okay, let's take a look at what we're doing here. Where are all the red lights? Because there's got to be a lot of them. Okay. Now, if you we already talked about this. You have your E&O insurance, which we have monthly here. You have your association dues, your MLS dues, your Supra Key. There's a really good chance, guys, that when you calculate all those expenses, you're already going to be at about 30%, which tells us you don't have a lot of wiggle room with your expenses. So I don't think we talked about this. Yeah, that's the pain point. I don't think we talked about this yet. One of the first things, I was just talking with somebody about that this morning. One of the very first steps we have agents do is, do you have a separate bank account from you and your business? The answer should always be yes. Okay, that should be step one, because I can't tell you how many agents I'll sit down with, and these are high producing agents, and everything is mushed together. Their rent's coming out or their mortgage payments coming out, and oh, there's business cards that I ordered, and then there's kids daycare, and then there's gas, and then there's, oh yeah, association dues just got pulled out of there. It's such a mess. So the step one is get a business account for a lot of reasons, but the simplest one for me is everything that's an expense on there is an operating expense. You don't really have to dissect your personal statement, okay? So step one, have a business account. That's gonna make your operating expenses much easier to keep track of, okay? I think Chase, it's like $15 a month maintenance fee if you don't qualify for something. US Bank, $0. Most every credit union lets you have an account for $0. You could just call it your business account. But figure out what's going to work for you. I hate monthly fees for business accounts, but just find something that works, but you should absolutely have a separate account. Okay. What's that? That's true. Yeah, that is true. Okay. So, we were not going to go too much in depth on this because I think for the most part, we're just going to work on having an operating expense sheet and a business account. But if you were to chop things up, and this 30% right here, okay, let's say that equaled $100 because math, okay? So that means for lead gen and marketing, you should be spending about $10. Now, if you're a newer agent, how much does it cost to call or text people in your database? It is free 99, right? So already, yeah. So already, you don't even need to take on that cost, okay? Now, you need new business cards, you need things like that. Yeah, some of that can't be avoided. Tech and tools. Now, here's the thing with tech and tools. You should not be spending any money on tech, and I'll tell you why. Well, the only thing I would have said in the past, if you want to know my true, honest opinion, is I don't really like commands designs. I use Canva. Well, guess what, guys? Canva, what's that? Well, it's just a webinar type thing. Yeah. Canva and KW now have an exclusive partnership. Now, it's not rolled out yet, but we know kind of the big bullet points. One of them, which I think is huge, is it's going to automatically connect to your MLS. So you have a listing or you want to advertise something, you can find it in the MLS, so it's going to automatically pull from that. There's going to be KW specific branding materials, which, by the way, Canva is really easy to edit, so you're going to be able to play with that. What's that? With colors, yep, you could. It is going to be just as easy to function, but it'll be KW inspired. And then we'll even have market center designs. So, for example, I think it'd be really cool if we had a market analysis on Bungalow Heaven, and we just made it available to all the agents, and you could send it to your own database. So there's going to be a lot to that. All this to say, you should not be spending money on your tech and your tools. And I really do like what KW has been doing, because now we are going to have command, so you can drop that fee if you're paying it. You already have access to DocuSign through command. So there's a lot of things that KW is hopefully replacing for your tech. Now, let's say you still want the premium Canva that's fine. You have a $5 budget off of $100. So you do have a budget for it. Or you don't like the DocuSign, or you like digital ink, or you like something else that we provide, but you like yours better. There's still a budget for it, okay? Just keep it in check. TC or VA help. I would honestly consider this kind of a cost of sale, because your TC is only paid when you close your transaction, okay? So I would just get rid of that one, unless you did bring on a virtual assistant or you did have your own TC. Some people do that. You're allowed $5 to $10 for that. Education and dues, there's the association stuff. $2 to $3 for all that stuff. Again, based off of $100, okay? And then last but not least, we didn't talk about this one, for your office here. Are you paying for parking? Are you paying for a cubicle to lock your things in? Your monthly resource fees and your dues, $2 to $3 for that. So should you sit down and figure out the percentage down to the decimal point for each single one? I'm not saying you should do that, but what I am saying is you should see a trend here. Tech, tools, office and miscellaneous, we're keeping those to a minimum. The biggest line item here is on your lead gen and your marketing, which is already really helpful, okay? So if I sat down with somebody and we just glanced at it and I said, holy cow, 30% of your operating expenses is for tech and your tools. Why? And this person shows me all the stuff that they have. MailChimp, they have Constant Contact for email, they have Canva. I would immediately say, okay, let's get rid of all this. Try to use the KW stuff for right now. Okay. And then let's slide a little bit over to lead gen and marketing, because you need more of that. Okay. So do we kind of see the trend here? We're not going to sit down and say, Zep, your lead gen's up to 11%. No, close enough. We just want to see this rough trend. Okay. Track ROI and cut what doesn't convert. That's the red light, green light. So if you are sitting down with somebody and you've decided that you want your own VA, this is a prime example. You want your own VA because they're going to be making calls for you and they're going to be setting appointments for you and all this good stuff. And then 6 months goes by, 12 months goes by, and we sit down and we say, okay, look, you spent $1,000 a month on this VA. You spent $12,000 on this VA. What type of a return did you get? And you say, well, no return, but they're so good to work with. We would say, oh, that's so sweet. You need to get rid of them as soon as you can because they're not bringing you a return. And by the way, everyone's different. Some people are really sticklers on this. If you were to say, well, Gabe, the VA cost me $12,000, but I actually closed a transaction and I earned $20,000 on that. There are some business coaches that would say, not enough. You need a 3x return on that. Show me a full-on closed escrow with a $36,000 commission check, and then you can justify that VA. Otherwise, cut it. Everyone's going to be different. I at least like to start off with do no harm. So at least get your return back. Okay. Any questions on this, on how we're actually looking at the operating expenses? Now, the reason we're breaking this one down is because this is the pain point for everybody. It's not the profit. The profit is a result of the expenses. It's not the cost of sale because that's not really in your control. The operating expenses you're going to sink or swim with that. And this is how it should be broken up. Okay. Good. All right. So common pitfalls for solo agents. We already kind of talked about this. Man, Marianne, you're right. I do use some clashing colors here, don't I? Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I've done all of them.
Haven't we all? So here are some common pitfalls, the do's and the don'ts of what you're going to see a lot of. And a lot of this we've already discussed. But the first one is overspend before earning. I can't tell you how many times people will, well, let me say this first. That is going to happen, okay? When you get started in real estate, when you sign the dotted line, you are already overspending before earning, right? Let's call it what it is. But now it's about keeping that in check. When you first sign up with the association, you're writing a check on money you haven't earned yet. I understand that. But as quickly as we can stop spending what we're not earning, the safer you'll be, okay? The best term, yeah, stop the bleeding. Stop the bleeding wherever that's coming from. This is another one. GCI does not equal personal income. I'll go back to those examples of agents that are earning, they're grossing, gross commission income. They're making $250,000, $300,000. And then when you look at what their actual personal income is, which always comes out in the tax documents, like it can't be avoided, their profit is, that of a $60,000 worker. And it's like, so much of that was lost in here. You gave so much money to some other vendor instead of to yourself. And then forgetting to save for taxes, there you go. 25 to 30% of net profit. I'm not going to give you advice. I'm not going to touch that with a 30-foot pole, but you should have a CPA and you should ask that CPA how much money you should be setting aside. Now, a more advanced class is we'll actually talk about some options of what to do with that money. I think a very traditional sense is you take out your tax money. So out of the $100, I'm going to take $25 out of that, and I'm going to put it in a savings account and just let it sit there. Well, that's good. It's not great. Great would be you have another bank somewhere and you just send that money off. That's what we do, my wife and I. And my wife has refused to get the login info for that because she says it's too tempting for her. I love the self-awareness. I do. This is about as old school of a credit union. I know the same lady that works there. They just rolled out an app 2 years ago. And I was like, wow, you guys are way behind. I love it. But no, there's some next level stuff that you can do with that money. And it's not gambling. You're not putting it out like in the stock market. But there are certain places where you can basically put money in almost like a time capsule, and you cannot touch it for 6 months or 12 months or 24 months or 36 months. It's kind of built out that way. And it's perfect for taxes for an agent, to be honest. Do track expenses. Now, that is the minimum requirement, is to look at your bank statement from last month and look at your expenses. I'd say that is the bare minimum, because what you want to start doing is start forecasting what your expenses should be and push everything down just a little bit. I spent, we'll keep using the Facebook ads because I think that's the simplest one. Okay, I spent $300 on Facebook ads, didn't really get an ROI. I'm gonna keep that cost down. Let's do 150, only one ad. Let's see how that works. So just using it to forecast, eliminate waste, that's the red light. If anything is not giving you a return as a solo agent, you need to get rid of it as quickly as possible. Okay, and then review quarterly. Bare minimum, I'd say review quarterly. You should be looking at that monthly, to be honest. But we'll start small. I'm a realist. First, just have a business account. And then print out that statement and just take a look at it. See how things are looking. If you ever want to go more in depth, I love doing this stuff, by the way. So if you ever want to go more in depth and you truly do have a business checking account, print it out. We'll look at it together. We'll take a look at what are your percentages? What do you want to change? Last one, not the last one, sorry. So tools for a financial checkup. So here's some things that you should be doing here. So using a basic P&L spreadsheet or QuickBooks. Now, here's the thing. QuickBooks is another expense. Shocker, okay? QuickBooks is dynamic. It is IRS friendly. It is CPA friendly. It does more things than you probably will ever need, if I'm being honest. You don't need QuickBooks yet, okay? If I had to guess, your expense line items are not going to exceed 15 things. Okay, so you'll start at the top. If you want to go in order of expensive, that's fine. So association dues, and then you got your MLS dues, you have our monthly fees here. Figure out all those expenses and just fill them in month by month, okay? So a spreadsheet works just fine. Track income, expenses, and lead source ROI. So this is, I'd say this is a next step up, is looking at your lead sources and looking to see what's equated to income would be great, or at least appointments, okay? And I fell victim to this. I would just categorize everything as sphere of influence. I was like, everything came from my sphere of influence. What else? Like, what else am I supposed to do? And somebody challenged me to go deeper. They said, okay, well, what within your sphere of influence has resulted in things? And I had never put it together. It was always event invites. It wasn't even event attendance. It was just when I invited people to an event, magically business would start coming in. And I wouldn't connect the two. So now I think to myself, well, shoot, had I known that, I would have just blasted out. I would have had more events. But open houses was on my list of lead sources and didn't get much from that. Door knocking, never got anything from that. Cold calling, got an appointment from it once and that was it. But when you look, if you looked at it as a chart, and you saw sphere of influence events, it would be the most obvious thing in the world. You'd be like, well, what were you doing otherwise? So I would challenge you, write out your lead sources. It shouldn't be greater than 4, okay? And then even if you want to do a subcategory, what has led to the most traction, okay? This is a tough one, but I think it's necessary. Are you able to block out some amount of time for a monthly financial review? Again, your finances should be fairly simple, should not take a long time, okay? My wife and I have gotten in the habit of looking at our budget about once a month, and it's fairly quickly because we have it down to a science now. But yeah, there will be times where we're like, why did we go out to eat so much? And we'll think back like, oh, so-and-so had a birthday, and then we had a family thing, and then we had this, and then so-and-so visited from out of town, so we bought dinner for them. But it just helps to review that, okay? No, well, it depends if it's an outlier or not. So Karina's friends came from Arizona, I think, and we treated them. Like we took them to a Dodger game, we got dinners. So our budget blew out of the water. We were able to look back and say, okay, well, that was a one-off because no one else is coming. Let's go back to this budget item of 200 or whatever, and we'll just know that that was an outlier. But yeah, there's been times where, what's a more practical one? Starbucks, as Karina likes to call it, Starbies. So Starbies is a silent killer of our house.
It's gonna be a year and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a day where we were like, we went to gymnastics for Grace, and we were in this rhythm of stopping at Starbucks to buy her a coffee, me a coffee, them a cake, pop, or whatever. And I was like, this is $30. And I was like, we do this every week. And sometimes we do it twice a week. I'm like, that's $120 minimum. That is a gym membership. That's something. I mean, so that is something where we'll say like, whoa, this keeps going up. And then we'll say, okay, next month, like I don't get anything from Starbucks anymore. And neither do the kids. We get Karina something from Starbucks. That's like her one thing. But like to see that line item just drop is so satisfying. But yeah, and something that I do, we're getting into the weeds of it, but if anything goes up more than, I don't remember what the threshold was. If anything goes up more than $50, I make that cell red. So then I start to look at, okay, what spiked? And then if anything drops $50, that cell's green. So then I can kind of almost at a glance see, am I going up or down with my expenses? So this is my type A, like Wonderland. I love it. Because when it's all green, I'm like, oh, we're doing good. Or like we're doing, I don't know. Anything I've just shown as a strong, like a really high D. Yeah. But I never did it until when I had my gym. I got a business coach for my gym, and they made me go line by line. And I started finding it satisfying to do it. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Oh, last thing, sorry. Consider profit first cash allocation model. This one is a little bit more tricky, and I'll explain what it is first. So the profit first philosophy is what most people do is they get their income, they pay their expenses, and then whatever's left is their profit. The profit first methodology, if you will, it's a great book, by the way, the profit first, is as soon as that check comes in, you've already calculated what, I'll use 40% for right now. You've already calculated what 40% is. So as soon as that check comes in, 40% goes to your paycheck. And then whatever's left is for expenses. So it kind of flips it on its head. It says, hey, you own a business. Your first job is to make sure you're funding the life that you want. So as soon as that $100 comes in, $40 goes to you. Don't even look at it. That's your money. Now, the remaining $60, 30 goes to cost of sale. Now you have $30 left to cover all of your expenses. It's really aggressive. It's really tough to do, but profit first is really successful if you can do it. Yeah.
Because your expenses.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And honestly, I think a lot of it in that book, it emphasizes more and more, like you are the most important person in your business. Like your job is to keep that person happy. Like imagine that you have this all-star employee, because that's you in your business. And if you don't pay them, they're going to quit on you. You need to figure out a way to pay that person. That's you. And we're so harsh on ourselves. We're like, oh, it's fine. I'll just skip lunches. It's like, well, why would you do that to your best employee? Why would you do that to yourself? So profit first model is, they have it for every business now, but yeah, profit first is a great approach. And if that's too aggressive, if 40% isn't doable because you've just gone off the rails too far, there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, here's what I'm going to do. My first commission check or my first monthly, whatever it is, I'm going to say 20% goes to me, 20% to profit, which gives me 50 for operating expenses. And now my job is to get that lowered over the months. Okay. I'm not saying just tomorrow be like, well, I'm getting 40%. We got to figure out how to make ends meet. Gradual. Okay. And coaching would kind of teach you to say like, okay, this month your expenses were 50. Next month, we're going to go for 45. Oh, we're already stuck. Start calling some vendors. Next month, we got to be down to 40. And then it's really hard on the person, but the irony of it is, who are you giving that money to? Yourself. We're forcing you to pay yourself. Okay, very tough for some people. Okay, so here's the action plan for the solo agent. Here's what I would like you to do over the next couple of months. Review your last months of financials. It says 3 to 12 months. Some of you don't even have that option yet. Some of you, if your personal and your business finances are mingled, this might be a really big project. So I should probably put before that, open a business checking account as well. Okay, have one. Categorize income expenses using the MREA model. So, I mean, I'm a color coding person, so I think I would figure out some way to color code lead gen, tech and tools, education and dues, office miscellaneous, and I would color code them. I would say lead gen is green. Anything that's green is lead gen. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of play with this, but I would encourage you to categorize your operating expenses. Because if you have, let's say tech and tools is orange on your spreadsheet, if you got a whole lot of orange and you realize that you're overspending on your tech and tools, it's already done its job. It's already helped you out because we got to cut that back. Okay. Let's go back to here. Let's see. So this is the red light, green light. Identify waste and plug financial leaks. There's a lot of people that, whether or not they know it, are hemorrhaging money. They're spending, from a percentage standpoint, they're spending too much money. And the most dangerous part is some of them are actually doing okay. Like they're surviving, but they don't realize how much they're chopping their own business at the knees. Okay. Build a lean budget for the next 12 months. So taking a look at the last months, now project. What should your forecast be? Can you create a budget and do your best to stick with it? And then I think this goes back to, let me see, where was it? 15 minutes a month planning with yourself, financially planning, sitting down, taking a look at this and figuring out where, playing red light, green light. That's one of the first things that you need to be doing. And then figuring out from an operating standpoint, are you at 30%? How bad is it, right? The Gary Keller says, get real, get right. Get real with the numbers first. You have to face those numbers and then you can get right with them. Okay. Let me see. Are there any questions? Let me see. Any questions, guys? Zoom land, you guys can unmute yourself. I think, oh yeah, everyone got in. Yeah, I think that was the key, Marianne, getting rid of the waiting room. No moss. Okay. Questions, guys? Questions, comments, concerns? Oh, right up to an hour. Not bad. So remember, this is not, this isn't groundbreaking. It might be to you if you haven't read the book yet, but this has been published for years, this model. What I love about the MREA book is we're covering, for a solo agent, the very basics, the fundamentals, but you go over a couple of chapters and it starts getting into, great, congratulations, now you've hired a buyer's agent, you've hired an assistant, you've hired a showing assistant, here's how you pay them as well. So what I mean to say is with the budget model, there's no uncharted territory. So you're not going to outpace what model and system we have. There is something for you. Any other questions, guys? Okay, so let me go back to the very first slide because the next one we're going to be going over, in the future, whenever that is going to be, is the organizational model. If you're not type A, the budget model was probably a little bit difficult. The organization model is going to be a nightmare because one of the first things that we're going to do in the organizational model is start documenting what you're actually doing. They're called SOPs. You're going to start figuring out what it is that you're doing. And by the way, this isn't so you can hire somebody out. It's so that you can feel a little bit easier. I did a video recently on when you open up escrow. And when I mean open up, I mean you get the email that says, congratulations, we're opening escrow. What do you do? I gave, I think it was 5 or 6 list items of here's all the things that you should be doing. Send an email to this person and this person. Send an email to this person, this person, this person. Send the contract to, I gave you a list of what you should be doing. And that's meant to just settle your mind. You don't have to feel as overwhelmed. Organizational model is no different than that. Okay. Any questions, guys? All right, so just a reminder, we're going to be doing the monthly team meeting in person here like before. Moving forward, the webinars are going to look a little different. They're going to be advertised on Eventbrite. Hopefully, we're going to see unfamiliar faces in the calls because it's just going to be join this webinar to learn about how to, build out your organizational model. That's all it's going to be. Yes. Good question. Yes. I don't know if it's chili, but it is something. Let me see. Okay. But yeah, I'll talk to Robert. I mean, it's not anyone's fault, but for us to just change the verbiage of online to in person, that's not noticeable enough. So I think we'll have to make it more obvious when it's an in person versus when it's just a standard webinar, event registration, all that stuff. So yeah, that's helpful feedback actually. Yes. I mean, honestly, it might just be in my office. Yeah. It's not that it's easier to do in the office, but it would be easier for me to just focus here so that we could get everyone's screen on here as well. Let me get back to you on that. Yeah. You guys are making me commit to things that I don't know yet.
Like this meeting is if it was at 10, I could have come and then left.
Yeah.
But now it's at 11 and my son starts summer school from 12 to 3. So I have to go take him. And it's next to my house.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh. I like coming in person.
Right. Yeah.
That it's in person. Yeah, okay.
Right. Correct. Good questions. I mean, this is literally the first day we're trying this out, so we'll make some changes to it. Any other questions, guys? Comments, concerns? Zoomland? Anything else, guys? It was recorded, so we'll post it at some point. We'll probably email it out as well. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming. We will see you guys at the next meeting, and make it a great day. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Gabe. Appreciate it.
No problem, guys.